There's a new company that's bringing evictions to the gig economy. This company is called Civil, and what they want to do is operate much like Uber, but essentially use their workers to help landlords evict individuals who haven't been able to pay their rent. Now, of course, there has been a federally implemented moratorium on evictions. That doesn't change the fact that some landlords are still trying to evict people, and even if they don't do it through a legal process, they'll do it through, pressure and making it increasingly difficult to live under the conditions in the various properties that these landlords own. And so Civil put out some ads indicating that it's looking to sign up some new employees, which of course would be contracted employees that would not get any benefits. And so according to Vice, which broke this story, seizing on a pandemic-driven nosedive in employment and huge uptick in number of people who can't pay their rent, Civil aims to make it easy for landlords to hire process servers and eviction agents as gig workers. So in its Craigslist ads posted across the country, Civil explains the opportunity plainly, quote, "There is plenty of work due to the dismal economy." So look, right now the unemployment rate is still incredibly high. It's at 8.4%. Many Americans are becoming increasingly desperate because of the fact that they've been laid off and they've had difficulty finding work. So essentially what this does is it pits people who are desperate for work against others who are desperate to stay in their homes and who have also lost their jobs as a result of this pandemic and are unable to pay their rent. Now, Vice reached out to them to get a statement about why it is they're looking to hire people to help landlords evict, especially when there's a federal moratorium. And the company argues that they're not trying to find individuals to help landlords evict, although after the new year, it's likely to be a necessity. So they want to be front and center as a service for landlords once it's much more widespread that landlords can evict people. But they're arguing that for now, they're helping landlords empty units that have been left vacant. I mean, no one's really buying that, but that's the argument that they're putting out there. And by the way, if you have any interest in maybe enrolling as one of their employees, you have to pay them first. There's a $35 enrollment fee before you can go ahead and work for these people. I mean, this story is as dystopian as it gets.
All right, so look, there's a number of issues here. Number one, eventually, not in the beginning, but eventually this will attract folks who like throwing people out of their houses. And that's gonna be terrible. And the folks who like doing that are usually right wingers who have something wrong in their lives, and in their sense of the world, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I'll show them." Okay, well, too bad, man. You should have done the right things. Eventually, that'll happen. It'll be even worse and uglier. But for now, it's just desperate people versus desperate people.
Yeah.
There's a colloquial way of referring to that these days. It's called Hunger Games. So now we fight each other, and they watch us. The trillions in relief funds went to the top 500 companies. It did. And then some amount of money went through the PPP, went to small businesses, which worked well. And then the people who got the least were the actual citizens. And now we're going to be put in an arena where some of us have to throw the other ones out of their houses and take their furniture and I don't know if they sell it or if they throw it in the garbage or if they burn it or whatever it does to amuse the wealthy. So, and again, this is not against the wealthy, it's against and I say this every time, the donors who are buying off our politicians. So we're in a sick state right now. And the idea that this is how you're gonna make some side money, it's just so sad. And a lot of people participating, they don't even, they feel terrible about it. We covered a CNN report earlier that where the guy said, "Look, man, today it's me throwing him out of the house. Tomorrow it could be me having be thrown out of my house. And that's exactly right. That's exactly how Hunger Games works, let alone the fact that this is very likely illegal.
Yeah, so as of now, it is, which is why when this company was reached for comment, and by the way, Civil operates under its parent company, which is On Call. And so it's kind of like TaskRabbit. It's one of those apps that turns every job into a gig economy job, right? So if you're a carpenter, for instance, or if you can help people move things from one place to the next, you can put yourself on these apps and then you're hired on a case-by-case basis. And part of the reason why I'm not buying the argument that they gave Vice about how no, we're not encouraging people to evict anyone. That's not, because of this moratorium. Their ad specifically states that they're looking for individuals to help landlords evict people who haven't been able to pay their rent. Let me actually read you from their actual Craigslist ad where they write, unemployment is at a record high and many cannot or simply are not paying rent and mortgages. We're being contracted by frustrated property owners and banks to secure foreclosed residential properties. Literally thousands of process servers are needed in the coming months due to courts being backed up in judgments that need to be served to defendants. And so they're definitely encouraging people to assist these landlords who are breaking the law. In many cases, there are landlords who illegally lock their tenants out of their units, and then they hire these individuals to come in and help them move the furniture and stuff out of the units. But I will also note, that federal moratorium on evictions, that was what was implemented by the Trump administration. As we talked about earlier on the show, the truth is you have to go through many obstacles in order to qualify for that eviction protection, right? Like you have to file a bunch of complicated forms, you have to qualify, you have to prove that you're experiencing financial hardship. And some people don't know what that process is. They don't know how to navigate it. It's complicated. It takes some time for the government to get back to you and give you the protection you need from getting evicted. And in the meantime, these landlords are, applying a great deal of pressure on their tenants to either pay up or get out. And so some people have been locked out of their units. And this is the type of app that, unfortunately, you're right, Cenk, it pits people who are desperate against others who are also desperate. No one just avoids paying their rent just to avoid paying their rent. Again, our unemployment rate is at 8.4%. And when it comes to people who are employed, if you look at the numbers, a lot of individuals have taken massive pay cuts. In fact, let me give you those numbers right now to give you a sense of just how bad it is. So this is the last graphic. Many people who have jobs are struggling with pay cuts. As of August, 17 million workers were getting paid less due to the pandemic. Some 9.5 million took pay cuts. The remaining 7.5 million are working fewer hours. And so you're either part of the unemployment rate that's incredibly high, or you experience a significant cut in your wages or your hours. So yeah, people are struggling and we're not getting any help, any additional help at least from congressional lawmakers.
So the reason why I said it's probably illegal is because there are some loopholes. And if they're trying to find the loopholes to evict people, I'm sure that some of those companies will find loopholes. And then they have lawyers, they have a lot of money and resources on their side. The poor person being evicted does not. So if they're not perfectly familiar with all the arcane legal matters, they might get thrown out on a technicality. But guys, think about another problem in this story. So normally we have government officials that evict people from their properties. Like you'll see the sheriff come by or other, depending on your state, other officials come by. It's because we don't want people who have not been trained and who don't have that government authority to come in and start throwing their neighbor's stuff out and physically remove them. They don't even have the legal right to touch them. What if they say, okay, all right, I'm gonna stay inside my house? Well, what are you gonna do then? What if they hold on to the couch? What are you gonna do then? If you're a sheriff, you're a police officer, et cetera, you have some rights and hopefully some training, which is luck, to be able to handle a situation like that. Rando off the street that's doing it instead of driving an Uber does not have any of that training. and does not have that guidance. So what are they gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna get into fights, and it's gonna get so ridiculous so quick. Look, August is one of our members wrote in, forcing the weak and the working class to fight each other is one of the oldest plays in the capitalist playbooks. Unfortunately, that's definitely true. By the way, that was partially the story of slavery. Hey, poor white people, don't worry about it. We got blacks underneath you. Those are the guys who you should hate. But whatever you do, don't look up. Yeah, I guess you could take that out of Les Mis. I mean, and that's how old it is. It goes back to the French Revolution and beyond. Look down, but whatever you do, do not look up. That's where the problems are. And if you noticed in something that Anna said, they might be working for rental properties or banks. There we go. Because random property owners throughout the country are not organized enough for this. But banks that own a lot of property across the country are very well organized and can contract out to a company like this to systematically evict you guys, right or wrong, out of your houses. And is there anything we can do about the banks? Nope. Both Democratic administrations and Republican administrations have said they're untouchable. The bankers run us all. And of course, they're one of the top donors to the political class. And that's how we all get screwed.
Yeah, I mean, we covered in great detail a story yesterday about how these major banks have been helping international crime rings launder money knowingly, intentionally. And all they need to do is file a report for the Treasury Department indicating that some of these customers are suspicious, and that leads to absolute impunity. Like, they don't have to worry about any consequences for doing this. And banks that had previously been fined for laundering money for narco traffickers have continued doing that, and there have been no consequences. So they are above the law. I mean, for an administration that keeps talking about law and order, there's a great deal of crime taking place on the highest level. It's just that they don't ever face any consequences for it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.